Okay, so good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Art of Networking. I'd like to introduce Duncan Olaechea with Halpert Insurance. He is also an ambassador with the Chamber. So here you go, Duncan.
All right, thank you, Tina. Thank you guys for coming. Happy to see a lot of familiar faces here. Nice to meet you guys, the ones that I don't know. So I'm Duncan. I am an ambassador here with the Chamber. I work with Halpert Insurance. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about me, and then we'll go through the networking scene for a little bit. So I am a single dad of 3. I have 3 boys. The names are Louis, Duncan, and Christian. I also have a pretty cool doodle. He's a 1-year-old golden doodle. His name is Freedom. His birthday is actually next week, or actually this weekend, one of those days. So a little bit about me. I was born in Peru. I lived in Peru until I was 12. Then we moved to Venezuela when I was 12, and then we moved to the States here in Essex when I was 15. You know, Chavez decided to take the government by force in Venezuela, so it was time to leave. So I came here right into high school. I came August 28th, 95, right into 10th grade from South American country right into the whitest town in Connecticut you can possibly find, and I didn't know how to speak a lick of English. That was tough. Trying to make new friends was probably the hardest part, the whole English, non-English part. So at 17, I joined the military. 17 and a half, I joined the Army. I told my recruiter, I want to deal with like formulas and some fun stuff. And he said, oh, I got the best job for you, engineering. I'm like, all right, that sounds about right. Let's do it. So off I went. I went to basic training, and then I found myself in the desert wearing a big heavy suit, having a fiberglass rod in my hand, probing for landmines. That wasn't fun. The fun part came later. I got to blow up stuff all over the world. I was a demolitions engineer. I got to blow up stuff in a lot of countries and a lot of big stuff too. I was fortunate enough to be able to jump out of planes over 30 times. I got to rappel out of helicopters more times than I can possibly count. And I got to see the world. Then I blew up my knee overseas. I blew up my right knee in multiple places, and that's when they told me either you can now get on a desk and be a desk jockey for the rest of your life, or you can go home. So home I went. I came home and I opened up a landscaping company. That's what we do in the military when there's not a war. So I opened up a landscaping company. I bought myself a little Chevy S10, push mower, weed whacker, and a blower, and off to business I went. I asked all my friends and family, who needs help? One of my good friends referred me to this guy, Craig, who had a big house and a lot of money. That's all I knew about him. And I started doing his lawn and multiple other lawns. When the snow came, I went out of business. I didn't plan enough, and my Chevy S10 did not like to plow. I called this guy, Craig, that had a big house and a lot of money. I'm like, dude, all I know is you own a company, you have a lot of money, I want it. He's like, I don't have anything right now, but if you come back in a month or so, we can touch base. I'm like, okay, cool. He called me a week later to say, hey, somebody quit, come and talk to me. Talked to him, and I started working for him. A week later, I was the office gopher. I cleaned toilets, I filed a lot of paper, I answered the phones, I took the dog for a walk, I vacuumed, I did all that. It was an insurance agency and a finance company. So I put my head down and started to learn. One day, the main sales guy of the company came and said, hey, you know what, let's come with me, we're going to a boat show. This is how we do business. Okay, it's local, so I said, why not? Let's do it. So I did that. Went to the Norwalk Boat Show that day and got to learn how do they do business. It was all about the relationships they had. So little by little, I took over the sales part because I started to like it, and I got to see a lot of the country. My area covered Maine to Virginia Beach to Michigan. And then I went to every single boat show in that territory. So I was on the road 22 days a month from September to late May. And I was going to every single boat show by car. It was a rough. But what we did, we cold call on boat dealerships at the boat shows. referral is probably the worst place you can ever call somebody, at the boat show. So I learned the hard way that I hated cold calling, absolutely hated cold calling. So what I did, I decided to take my existing book of business and turn them into referral sources. Asking them, where do you network? Who's in your CEO group? Who's in your 20 group? Who's in your 8 group? Who do you know? Who do you know that can use my services? And little by little, it just became just part of nature. We started getting referrals, and a referral was so much quicker than a cold call. When I got referred to one person, they usually take my call. When I cold call somebody, I had to call them 15 times. I don't even remember who it was. So that's a little bit about me. Let's see, what else I got? I got notes here. This is a lot. So how do you get started networking? All right, so there's a lot of good opportunities out there to network. But the first thing you need to do is figure out what makes a good networker. So the characteristics of a good networker are pretty simple, pretty explanatory. You just gotta be reminded of them. The first one and the most important one, I think, is be a good listener. In the military, I was taught, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, so use it. Listen. If you don't understand or you don't know what the client, your referral partners do, you can't help them. So just be a good listener and help them out. Ask questions. But don't ask pre-qualifying questions like you're trying to figure out if they're going to be a good client or not. Just ask genuine questions. Positive attitude. Having a positive attitude is you're going to attract people like a magnet. People try to stay away from negative people, so just try to be positive. I see. Number 3, help others. Show people that you care. Give without expectations. Volunteer at nonprofits, volunteer at your friends' events. Just don't expect anything back. Just give without expectations. Now, it's all about giver's gain. And with giver's gain, I'll get back to that here in a minute. Number 4, be sincere, be authentic. If you're not sincere and authentic, people can see it, they can smell it. A lot of people say, fake until you make it. In relationship networking, that's not sustainable. Follow up. That's another one. If you offer to help somebody, just do it. Follow up. If you say you're going to do something, do it. Like if you try to help somebody and you're sending them help over and over and they don't follow up, you're eventually going to stop doing it. Number 6, trustworthy. If you don't trust somebody, you're not going to do business with them. Pretty simple. Again, always be true to your word. If you say you're going to do something, do it. Be approachable. I think the saying goes, people usually forget what you say, but they remember how you make them feel. So be approachable, be nice to people. Notice the way you're standing, notice the ways that your hand gestures are. Don't make them compete with you for airtime when you're talking to them. Let them speak. Let them be comfortable. Also, don't interrupt them when they're talking. It might sound redundant, but it's just, there's people out there that just want to give you their message. Just be approachable. Any questions so far? Awesome. So, characteristics you don't need to be a good networker. The one that is the biggest is you don't need to be an extrovert. Now, believe it or not, I'm probably the biggest introvert you'll ever meet. In the DISC scale, I should be in a basement when it comes to introverts. I just adapted to the sales world. Another one you don't need to be outspoken. You just need to speak the truth and listen to people. All right, so where do you network, right? That you're asking. There's a bunch of different organizations that you can join, that you can network. And I'm going to list them first, and then we're going to talk about them a little bit. So the first ones are business organizations like the Chamber of Commerce, for example. The next ones are like the hardcore networking groups like BNI. I see a couple of BNI people here. 6 Degrees is also a networking group. There's a couple of breakfast clubs. And then you have others are like civic organizations like Rotary, Kiwanis, Portland Exchange Clubs, Lions Clubs, and go on and on and on. There's a bunch of them. Professional. Now, like the Connecticut Bar Association, the HRACC, the Human Resources Association, all the verticals have their own association, local associations. And then vocational, common interest groups like veteran organizations, running clubs, bird watching clubs, painting clubs, coffee clubs, book clubs, all those clubs, great places to network. So let's break these guys down. Chamber groups or chamber-like groups. They usually meet once a month. There's open networking. Anybody can show up. One thing with these, that you usually will find 3 or 4 or 5 or of your same profession. Don't be afraid of that. There's plenty of business out there. And people do business with people they like. You never know. It's not the best place to build relationships, but it's a great way to start to learn to network. It's a great place to meet somebody and ask them for a one-to-one later on. So important part is with a chamber, especially, it's like with this awesome chamber, is volunteer, get involved. Go to the business after hours, go to the specialty events. Let's see what else we got. It's a great place to network. It's fun. The business after hours are a great place to meet people in a much more casual setting. So I highly recommend those. Then the hardcore networking groups like BNI, 6 Degrees. Those usually have a cost associated with them, but they usually are worth it. No, and those you have one of your profession per seat. And the people there usually become your sales team. Now they're out there looking for business for you and how they can benefit you. They actually become your family because you see them once a week, every week for the rest of your life. Now, I've been in a couple BNIs. I was at BNI here in South Glastonbury, and then I moved on to the BNI in Middletown, and you see them every week. Now, every week at 8 a.m., I know where I'm going to be. And I get to learn about them, learn about their families, learn about their business. And it's easier for me to be able to refer business to them because I get to see them on a constant basis. Then civic organizations like Rotary, Kiwanis, Exchange, Lions, name them, Mason clubs, Knights of Columbus, all of those. They're not for hardcore selling. Now, they're not for selling, period, I call it. These are places that you can go and meet people and give back to the community. Again, you're increasing your exposure. But with these clubs, you'll find yourself hanging out and spending time with C-suite and very high-end people. And I happen to be a Rotarian, a Kiwanian, and part of the Exchange Club. The Lions Club called me, but I said, I don't have time for you right now. No, it's only so much you can do. But in a couple of those clubs, I found myself handing out Thanksgiving baskets with the CEO of my local bank or a local credit union. And with the other one, we were giving out breakfast to seniors with the CEO of the local hospital. And there was no trying to sell and everything else, but they asked what I did. They know what I do. I know what they do. So hopefully in the future, a sale will come, but I'm not expecting it. Let's see what else. Professional and like associations. So if you're in your own vertical, there's always an association around. Like if you're a plumber, there's a local plumbers association. If you're an engineer, it's a local engineers association. If you're a lawyer, you have the Connecticut Bar Association. If you're in the human resources, you have the HRACC. Every vertical has their own local organization with a local chapter. Most of the time, you need to be part of that profession to join those groups, but you can always get an affiliate membership with them and be part of those groups on an affiliate basis. Great way to start networking with them. Again, don't try to sell them at day one. Just take your time. Vocational or hobbies. Now, locally, you have BFWs. Here in Glastonbury, we have the Marine Corps League, the American Legion, yacht clubs, running clubs, bird watching clubs, all those clubs. Whatever you're passionate about, join them. You can usually build a bond with somebody that you have a common interest with. The big thing about all these clubs or these groups is you need to be truly involved. Just showing up, it's not enough. Show up, volunteer. If you join a chamber, become an ambassador. If you join a BNI, offer to be part of the leadership team. If you are join a nonprofit, offer to be in the board or be a chair of one of the committees. They always need help, right? Consistency. Be consistent on your networking. If you just come to a networking event once and then come back a couple months later, people A, are not going to remember who you are, what do you do, and they're not, most likely not going to refer business to you because they don't trust you. All right? Any questions? All right, good. Awesome. All right. So if you expect to come to any networking event and close business on the same day, you're doing it wrong, right? If you're expecting to come and grab a bunch of business cards and talk to people for 30 seconds and kill it and make a bunch of money in the first week, you're doing it wrong. Now, networking and relationship networking is all about building relationships, building strategic alliances to help your business grow as well as their business. That's the only way this is going to work. For example, if you come to a business after hours and there's 50 people there and you decide to talk to everybody for 30 seconds and you get 50 business cards and you're like, yeah, it's good to go, right? And then you get home, you dump all 50 people on your CRM, and then minutes later you send them this massive email over and over and over and over. The odds of anybody responding are going to be pretty slim. On the other hand, if you come to a networking event and you spend a few minutes with 5 or 6 people or maybe 7 people, but you actually have a meaningful conversation with them, asking them about their business, how they get into business, and just genuine questions, it's going to be a better return. And what do? Just ask questions, be present. Don't be looking over the shoulder and seeing who your next sketch is going to be. You know, once you're done with the conversation, ask for their card, give them your card. Usually what I do is just make a note on the back of the card, where I met them, what we talked about, and when I met them. That way, in the event of you having a stack of cards and all of them crashing together on the floor, like happens to me, you know where you met them. All right. And then, so when you leave this event, those 5 or 7 people, you send them a quick email saying thank you for your time. It was great meeting you. And a couple of days later, you follow up with an email to request a one-to-one meeting with them. What do you think your return on investment is going to be after that? No, you already built relationships there instead of just a bunch of 50 contacts. So it might sound too simple, but that's just the way it is. It's pretty simple. It's just don't overthink it. Just take it slow. Again, the name of the game is building relationships. It's not in-person cold calling. If you're doing in-person cold calling, you're doing it wrong. Now, for example, a couple of years ago, there was a couple of guys that joined the chamber. One of the chambers they had just formed a business, and they took the networking sphere for a whirl. They were at every networking event, multiple chambers of commerce. They were going in there and just talking to as many people as they could, talking over people, being loud. And they didn't take time to listen to anybody. Or you tried to talk to them and they would just shove their message down your throat, and that was it. And at the end of the night, they would, on their way out to their car, they would count how many business cards they got. Needless to say, they're out of business now. Now, one is a gym, manages a gym somewhere, and the other one's a taxi driver. So, this is another way we do in-person networking. Let's see what else we got. So, the law of reciprocity and giver's gain, when I meant giver's gain before. A lot of inexperienced networkers expect that if you give somebody a referral, you're gonna get a referral back. Now, that's not a relationship, that's a transaction. And again, you're doing it wrong. The only thing that is known, that is if you give enough information or help or referrals to people, you would get plenty on the back end. Doesn't have to be for a specific, the same person that you gave the referral to, but the universe will get you referrals on the back end over. So let's see. Nope. Oh yeah. So Zig Ziglar said, if you help enough people to get what they want, you will get what you want. Pretty simple. What goes around comes around. So help people. Spread good vibes, like my friend Mike says. And then good vibes will come your way. Pretty simple. Just, I read a book, and the way they formed it was become a farmer. not a hunter. Hunters back in the caveman areas, they were aggressive. They would have a stick and they would try to beat things up. Try to get things done right now. Become a farmer. Plant your seeds. Nurture your network. Do it slowly. Build relationships. That's the way. That's the way you're going to get long-term the return investment in the long term. Let's see what else I got here. So yeah, know the difference between hunting and farming. Don't be aggressive. Take the time to build a relationship with people. Take the time to understand what they do. Ask questions. Don't ask probing questions. Don't ask qualifying questions if they're going to be your next client. No, ask questions that help you understand what they do, why they do it, and how they do it, and what drives them. So let's see. Any questions? Wait, hold on. I got something up here. Network to success story. Well, Chris, I like to think, if I'm looking at this screen, I have Chris Kaplan, Chris Amaral, Para, Mike. I like to think that they are my success stories. Let's take you, Chris Amaral, for example. I met Chris at a networking event at one of the chambers. So it was during the holidays, right? I knew what he did. I learned what he did. And my first thought was who can I connect him with? And I looked around the room and I found the best person that I could find to set him up with. Somebody within this similar sphere that was going to help him out. And then just followed up with him. We lost touch for a little bit because COVID, and then we touched back again. I like to think that if any of us need something from each other, I trust enough that I can send my friends to you, and I hope that you can send your friends to me. That's the way it is. Chris Kaplan, the same thing. We met at one crazy networking event, and I think that we built more of a networking relationship. I like to think of you as a friend. So it's not about getting my next client. It's about getting into relationships and becoming trustworthy. So when you meet somebody at a networking event, what do you talk about, right? It's like, oh man, what are you talking about with anybody? Like, that's weird. Who does that, right? So the first thing you gotta do is do not ask questions like you're trying to hire somebody, even if that's your job, right? You just getting to know somebody. Questions like qualifying questions for your business, people can seek that. Now, if I start asking questions, I'm an insurance agent, so if I start asking questions about their home and how old their home is, they're gonna trying to probe them for information. Just ask them about deep questions. Like when you meet somebody, everybody asks, "What do you do?" Right? I usually like to say, I have to ask, what do you like most about your job? That's a completely different question. Now they'll remember that question. How long have you been in business? What made you get into this line of work? What kind of clients do you typically work with? Where are you located? How big is your geographical footprint? Just questions that are out of the ordinary, not probing questions on sales and anything else or employees or anything like that. Just try to keep it so you can get to know this person better. What else? Let's see. Once you've asked all these questions, be ready to give the same answers in return. The last thing you want to do is that them asking you a similar question, you go like a deer with deer headlights. Just be ready for a conversation. Pretty simple. Another big question that I ask is, and is completely out of the ordinary, is where do you usually network at a networking event, right? They will tell you about the business, and you can provide them with ideas of other networking events or networking places that you know about. In all reality, you can also learn where to network as well, right? But if they tell you, oh yeah, no, I'm new to the area, I don't know where to network, and you know where else to network, you can provide information without expectations of getting anything back. Give gain after all, right? Another big question to ask is, what is your biggest challenges, right? That's usually a pretty good question, and it usually gets you a really long response. And lastly, I like to close usually a conversation and a networking event with, how can I help? How can I help you? How can I drive more business to you? And be ready to answer that question as well. That will pretty much solidify the relationship between you and that person. That will make them understand that you are there to help them and not just take. Be a giver, not a taker, right? So the top common mistakes of networking. We can all network for days and days and days and days, but if we make mistakes, we're wasting our time. So the biggest networking mistake is lack of follow-up. So if you network for days and you don't follow up with anybody, you just wasted days, right? You just wasted all that time. So why would you go out network if you're not gonna follow up? So, and it's worse to recover from not following up than not even networking, period. So, second one is having an unclear, unique selling proposition or an elevator pitch. If somebody doesn't understand what you do, they're not going to refer business your way. So make sure that your your elevator pitch is clear, short, and sweet. You deliver your message quickly. Just make sure that it doesn't sound rehearsed. All right. A recommendation for a simple formula is, I work with, and you put in your target market, and then to help them with what you help them with. Nice and simple. Keep it simple. No, the whole KISS, keep it simple, stupid. There you go. Keep it simple. Don't overthink it. It's not that hard. It's just about relationships. It's about building it, right? The next one is confusing relationship networking with face-to-face cold calling. Again, all right. The difference between cold calling and networking relationships is that cold calling is all about numbers and volume, right? You're gonna talk to 100 people and meet one. They're actually gonna listen to you after this 7th email that you actually sent them. Networking is about building relationships and forming those relationships to become a strategic alliance, something that becomes a profitable relationship between both of you. All right. Last one, actually not last one, but it's a very important one too. Not responding quickly to your referral partners. So if a referral partner sends you a referral or calls you, make sure you return that call as quickly as possible. The last thing you want to do is have a referral partner try to send you a referral and you return the call for days. And then they look like a fool, and then you look like a bigger fool. Also, if that referral person, that person that's being referred, knows that you have their that you're supposed to have their number on a Monday, and you don't call them until Thursday, you're not going to get the business. It's pretty much guaranteed. All right. And then then we're going to what I call, let me go back there. Any questions? Nothing? All right. So what I call, or actually, what a book that I read calls it 12 by 12 by 12 rule. It's how do you look from 12 feet away? How do you going to come across from 12 inches away? And what are the first 12 words out of your mouth? Right? Have those 12 by 12 ready. So how do you look from 12 feet away? Initial perception is huge. It's the most important part of the whole networking event deal. If you don't look approachable, if you don't look the part, people are not going to want to talk to you. Like if you're going to a breakfast chamber event, wear a suit, go to bed early, look the part. If you're not a morning person, go to bed extra early and have a cup of coffee. If you go to a chamber after hours, be relaxed. No, dress casual, but not too casual. Don't go in a tank top or shorts and flip-flops. How do you come across from 12 inches away? A lot of the message that comes from networking is all nonverbal. So watch your body language, your posture, your facial expressions. Look at them straight in the eye when you're talking to them. Do not be looking around their shoulders to see who you're going to talk next. Be present. Don't be checking your phone. Don't be checking your watch. Just listen to them, be present, build a relationship. All right. And then what are the first 12 words out of your mouth? When someone asks you what you do, make sure it's memorable. Make sure it's quick, simple, but memorable. The last thing you want to do is fumble and not being able to explain your business in a quickly way. Make sure it's quick, informative, and right to the point. Pretty simple. For me, is I help homeowners and business owners make sure they're protected the right way at the right price. That simple. And I just say it over and over, and it gets my point across. All right. How do you build a good elevator pitch? And again, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but we're going back to it. First, you focus on the 2 or 3 groups where your business is going to be best suited. And then you figured out what are the challenges, and then you put those together. Pretty simple, right? So I work with your target market to help them enter your benefit. Like I work with business owners to help them get their insurance, make sure their insurance covers them correctly and at the right price. Now we move on to one-to-ones. This is what you do after you meet them at the networking event. Once you meet them at the networking event, you ask for a one-to-one, and you ask them for a coffee or for a walk or for sitting in the park and talking to them. Just not inside right now because of the COVID thing. This is about building the relationship deeper. This is not a sales call. As much as you want to make it a sales call, this is not a sales call. This is where you actually get to know this person much, much deeper and get them to understand their business. If you think this is going to be a sales call, don't even bother. You're doing it wrong. If you're looking for clients, networking is probably not the right. Not specific clients, that's probably not the way. When you're with them, ask similar questions like the ones we had before. Be ready for answers. Put your phone in do not disturb. Do not check your phone or your email every 5 minutes. Don't check your watch. Don't be rude. And ask genuine questions that are going to make you understand what they do and the challenges they face and how you can help them. The more you understand about their business and how they operate, the easier it's going to be for you to be able to refer business to them. Usually what I try to do is when I'm in a one-to-one, if I can come up with a referral for them right off the top of my head, I try to do so. If I can't, I usually say, hey, what is a good referral source for you? I might not have a client for you, but I might have a good referral source for you. So if I'm meeting with an accountant, and I don't have a business that needs an account right now, but they're a good referral source for them would be a financial advisor. I got plenty of those that I can set them up with. That would be something that you can do. Also to build that relationship. Again, don't expect anything in return. All about giver's gain. The more you give, the more you get back. You might get it back in a roundabout way and not from that specific person, but you'll get it back. And then the last thing is thank yous. Now, thank you cards or thank you emails. A lot of people said that handwritten notes are a thing of the past and they don't work and you're wasting your time and your money. A 45-cent postcard and a 40-cent stamp will get you a lot more than an email. What I like to do is usually right after I leave that meeting, my one-to-one, I usually have a pack of postcards or cards with me. I usually say a thank you. A really quick note. Hey, I really enjoyed our meeting. Thanks for the awesome walk. Let's do it again soon. Duncan. That's it. Put it in the envelope, stamp it, drop it in the mailbox before I even go very far. By the time they get home the next day or the day after that, they'll get it and they'll actually be more willing to, they'll like you more. Not many people do that, so be out of the ordinary. And that's it. Now, networking it's not very hard. You just got to know the difference between cold calling or in-person cold calling and building relationships. Like Mike says, spread good vibes. The more good vibes you spread in the world, the more good ones will come back your way. Any questions?
Yeah, Duncan, this is Mark Feiner. I actually have a couple of questions. I feel like a lot of your presentation related to what you can do when you meet people and, in person at these in-person networking events. And given that the times we currently live in, and, the inability to meet people in person, and, the chambers aren't holding their business after hours the same way they did, what advice would you have for people? For example, the chamber does, leads at lunch, where there may be, 30 people on a Zoom screen. How do you connect with people when, in COVID times, when, you're one of 30 on a computer screen? There's really no time, if you see somebody that you may think there may be a business connection with, to talk to them after the meeting.
Right.
What do you suggest, for these kind of times?
Well, use the chat feature and send them a direct message, and try to connect them directly. But most of the time, a lot of people will have their contact information in the chat box. At least in our chamber, we all do. But if there's a way you can get their contact info, either send them a chat message and try to set up a one-to-one meeting later on, or ask the organizer if you can get the contact info with that person, or if they can forward your contact info to that person because you would like to get a meeting.
Okay.
Besides that, no, it is hard. Like, no, BNR, I'm a member of BNI, my BNI chapter. I'm actually going to become the president next month. It is different. It is difficult to have that one-to-one conversation on Zoom without 30 other people listening. What I recommend is using that chat feature. Saying, hey, I would like to chat with you for 5 minutes. Here's my telephone number. Here's my email. Call me when you can. And then when you talk to them, I like to do it in person, because in person you get a lot more feedback from. So set up a one-to-one, take them outside, and then ask the questions and have the conversation outside. But get them off that Zoom.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll second that for Duncan, and because we both do it a lot. John and I, King and I see him on here for the second time this week, and I'll just ask so Mark knows. John, what are we most likely doing together next week?
I know.
We're going to go for a run next week.
There you go.
Because yesterday we were on a call, we couldn't be face-to-face, and I said I like talking to people while running, and so he asked, hey, Duncan, and I'll share it with everyone because we've probably both learned from the same person. My best sales friend is a guy named Jack Daly, who's written a bunch of books, right? And he talks about the money bag. And the money bag is a really simple tool, right? You carry this in your car, you put this in your briefcase, you take this every single place you go. This is my money bag. And inside my money bag, there is postcards. There are stamps. There is a felt tip marker. And that's it. At the end of every event, I fill those out. I put them in the mailbox. You get them sometimes before you get back to your office.
Exactly. And it's huge. And then not many people do it. Now, be out of the ordinary. Now, be different. Now, everybody's going to send you an email or a LinkedIn request, but send them a postcard and then follow up with LinkedIn requests and email. Now, be different. Like for me, in the insurance world, from where I'm sitting right now, I can probably see 4 insurance agencies. Just be different. I've been lucky enough for the past 15 years, I haven't had to cold call, and most of my business is referral, and it's all about how you treat people, how you treat your referral partners. Any other questions? That's it. All right. Well, thank you all for coming. That was a pleasure. I will put my contact information in the chat box. If you have any more questions or you want to get together for a run or a walk or a coffee, let me know. I'm always around. Thanks.
Well
Thank
done.
you.
Thanks, Duncan.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.